Wonderful. We appreciate, first of all, everybody joining us today. Looks like we got a pretty good crowd here, so that's great. Quick PSA, this is not a sales pitch. We're not trying to sell you anything. I may try to sell you something later after the fact, but not today. So we've got a great panel here today. Some really good insights. We appreciate, obviously Greg and Brendan, which are both customers of myself and of Mitch's, both with Chain and with Ty. But it just so we'll do some quick interviews in a second, but just some things that, to expect today. We're going to kind of bounce around with different insights around specifically what brokers are doing in the market today around automating tasks, freeing up more hours to go out and hunt more business, being more efficient, and being more effective at your jobs by utilizing different tools to boost kind of the output of your team members. That's kind of what we're going to center on today. Obviously, we know it's a really crappy market right now. It has been for 3 years. We're going to not dwell on the doom and gloom. We're going to focus on what we can do despite the market. So quickly, we'll just give some quick intros around. I'll start. So I am Kevin Coomes. I am the EVP of Sales at Chain. Prior to my time here, I was a CRO over at Green Screens until December. Been on the tech side of the industry for about 10 years now. And prior to that, I was a broker. So I've sat in the seat. Excited to kind of moderate this little panel today for us, and I'll provide a little bit of insight, but we'll kick it around. Let's start with you, Mitch, and then we'll go over to Greg and Brendan.
Yeah, excited to be doing this today. So thank you guys for joining. So I'm Walter Mitchell. I go by Mitch, CEO of Ty Software. Ty Software is a TMS for freight brokers, trying to help freight brokers do their job more effectively by using technology where we can. And so, as Kevin said so nicely, it's been a tough market, and in that tough market, what can you do to leverage technology and adjust your business to give yourself an opportunity to be more successful? I've been in the technology side of this business for about 20 years now, always working with freight brokers. So really excited to be contributing anywhere we can. So thanks.
Awesome. Gregory?
Yeah, Greg Finnerty, VP of Ops at Concept Logistics up here in Buffalo, New York. I've been in the industry for 25 years, from booking loads, tracking trucks, and working on the leadership side for like the last 10, I believe. I think what I've got to kind of say specifically in this conversation is I've been through quite a few turns of this industry and what it could mean, and kind of some things that I picked up and learned along the way with a lot of failing and some recognitions of success.
Cool. And Greg is a massive Buffalo Bills fan. So I prominently displayed my 2 replica Chiefs Super Bowl rings in the background just for today.
I appreciate that. It's just not going to be a 3rd.
I'll be in Buffalo for the game. If anybody's in Buffalo, I've already been talking to a few people. We'll try to put together a tailgate. I tailgated there last year, and it was awesome. That's all I got to say. So, cool. Brendan?
Hi, I'm Brendan McDonald. I am the talent acquisition manager here at Bedrock, and I've also been involved in implementing both Ty and Chain to the company, and just excited to be here.
Awesome. Wonderful. A lot of experience here on multiple sides of the industry. We've all been around the block. We've been through a few freight cycles, as Greg said. I did lie to you. We are going to start with the doom and gloom. We're going to talk about market conditions first. So we'll kind of start with, the current state of the freight market, the impacts that we're seeing as tech providers, but then obviously more importantly, what Greg and Brendan are seeing in the broader market. I guess I'll start. Let's start with you, Greg. In the current state of the market today, what are you seeing? How's it impacting your day to day? We'll start there.
It's flat rates, right? It's a lot of capacity. It's a lot of different things being thrown at you moment to moment. And nobody's coming to save you. We're not the refs hoping the Chiefs bail us out. Or the Chiefs bailing the refs out, rather.
Wow.
Anyway, but no, I think it's a knife fight, and I think you got to dig in and you got to look internally. What we've been able to kind of recognize is the carriers are on the short end of this stick, and there's someone they're part of this business that's very important and need to be treated right, and being able to navigate the shipper's demands, that side of the customers, and the carrier's demand and that side of the customer is very hard for a broker right now, right? And what can we do to make their experience easier? What can we do to make the prices stick a little bit better, right? So elevating service, expecting more, and communicating higher. I think those are all keys to what we're seeing right now. But yeah, I mean, it's a knife fight.
Yes, it is. I have a couple of those refs on speed dial, so send them up to DC.
I wouldn't expect anything.
see if they can bail us out. I'll kick this over to Brennan. So beyond just the rate environment and beyond like the depressed kind of environment around that we've been facing these last couple of years, Brennan, what are you seeing like broader, right? Obviously, we've been talking about tariffs. We've been talking about a lot of other things in the first part of this year. We've had inflationary costs that have been kind of weighing on a lot of the shippers that we're doing business with. What are some of the broader things you've seen across that market condition that's kind of influencing the decisions that you guys are making, both operationally, but then also technologically in the market?
Yeah, and I think all of that really comes together and comes to a head point with technology, because that's one thing we've really been focusing on the past, couple of years, is how can we scale and how can we improve the processes that we have in place and make it more efficient, make it faster. So really all of those different, factors come into play, right? How much money are we spending on all this different technology? Is the technology really helping and improve the processes, and really sort of take a step and evaluate all of that to continue moving forward in this tough market?
Yeah. And that's, you make a good point there. It's like, it starts to become a process of review and revise, right? To stay ahead of what's going on out there and continue to improve those efficiencies and stuff. I'll throw that kind of same thing over to you, Mitch, but on like the technological side, with Ty, obviously being a TMS vendor, you guys see a lot of different freight flow through the platform. You see a lot of different people, and the choices that they're making, whether it's with partners like Chain or in general, right? The things that they're doing in the TMS. What are some of the things that you guys are seeing and the shifts that you guys are making on the tech side?
Yeah, I think well aligned with what both you guys are saying. Like it's for sure a knife fight, right? It hasn't been easy on anybody. Hopefully the resolution of the tariffs, or as the tariffs continue to be resolved, I think our deadline's in a couple days. But I think deadline's used pretty loosely. Hopefully that'll give a little
like
more.
The 9th deadline, I think, that we've had. Yeah. Keep moving. Keep moving the goalposts
for software developers, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
It's like with that changing. Let's just hope that we end up getting a little more stability in the market and level out some of the uncertainty. We have been in a tough market for a while. It's been toughest, I think, on the small brokers. It's been toughest on the small carriers, as Greg was saying, and finding a way to reconcile that position as a freight broker to do exactly what Greg's talking about: support your carriers and support your customers at the same time. That's the value that brokers bring to the table, is their ability to navigate that and help brokers, or help the carriers through the difficult times, as well as providing the best value you can for your shippers as you move through it. And then I love what you're talking about too, Brendan, around the leveraging technology to do it. And in a down market, it's a great time to take advantage of technology, right? This is a good time when you have a little extra bandwidth through the team, and also a place where you can look to build more ROI through all of the processes that you run. It's a great time to take advantage of that, because you've got a little bit extra, and it preps you for scale as well. So I think when you're looking at just your business in general, as you look at optimizing things and being more efficient, if you become more efficient in tough times, when you go to the opposite side of the cycle, as we move from that shift from the knife fight cycle to the let's sprint cycle, And now all of a sudden you're in this place where you're trying to do a lot more freight than you're used to. Bringing on new staff can be a challenge. So if you have good processes and good tools in place that offer you that efficiency, it works on both sides. And so it's a great idea, to take advantage of that when you have the time. So then when it picks up, and then all of a sudden Greg's phone's ringing 100 times a minute with people asking to move freight, he's got it, right? He's got the time to answer the phone, and knows that his systems will support him with 20% or 30% more volume than previously.
That is a really good point that you just made too, Mitch. And I think about this all the time. I've been on the TMS side with Revenova. I've been now with green screens on the rate stuff. Now I'm doing more ops automation with Chain. What I've always kind of harped on, though, in terms of freight and these cycles is like, you can't make when it gets busy again, you're not making tech changes. So if you think you're going to wait till the market shifts to improve those efficiencies and make your processes better and make the lives of your brokers better, right? By being, giving them tools that make them more effective, it's not happening when the market tightens. You're moving a ton of freight again. So
yeah, it's going to be just as hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's just building a strong business is building a strong business regardless of the cycle.
Correct.
And in freight, if we're going to be in freight, we got to expect the cycle. We've got to expect, and it doesn't make it okay. Like, I'm not trying to say like it's no big deal, because it is a big deal. It's a big deal to all of us, but it will turn. It for sure will turn, and let's be ready for that too.
No, I mean, even, going back to some of the things that you were hearing prior to this cycle, right? Like, it was like we were in this exasperatedly long, great economy, right? For a long time, where it was like things just keeping up. We're waiting for the shoe to drop. We're waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think a lot of that gets to a place where you forget what it feels like when the shoe drops, right? So you're less prepared, or you've gone over a little bit on your skis or things like that, into different assets, different factions of your business, whether it be technology or training or whatever. You kind of like wane off of it because things are good and everything's great and everything goes, and then all of a sudden it's not, and it's tough to recall those times. It's like it's like your grandpa that, well done meat type of, you know what I mean? Like, you forget, right? Like,
yeah,
we
have short memories
to make sure it's safe and we were good, right? So I think there's a piece of that that's happening, and I think through what even what Brendan was saying, like the technology, it's what was the old saying? You don't rise to your ability, you fall to your training. At this point in the technology age, it's like you don't rise to what you maybe can do. It's you're falling to what your strategy is and what your processes are automated.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually a good segue to my next kind of question for you guys. We'll throw this to Brendan first. In this environment, right? And with what we're specifically talking about, what you specifically just mentioned, Greg, like, do you think most people are still in survival mode? Or do we see kind of a shift changing where it's like, okay, we're in these trenches, we're in this knife fight, like we have to shift towards growth, right? And start thinking about growing again. What do you think about that, Brendan?
I feel like it's a little mixture of both, right? Of course, it's always going to be the knife fight, always going to be in the trenches. Hopefully seeing some shifts towards better days ahead, so to speak. But realistically, this is kind of the best time to kind of reevaluate everything, just like everyone was saying, and make sure that we do have the processes in place, right? Make sure that we do have the technology in place so that we can start to grow now to really capitalize on that later.
We don't want to capsize on that. That would
we want to capitalize.
Yeah, we could. Greg, what do you think? I mean, like, I with Concept, and I've worked with you guys for a while now, right? I've known you guys for a few years. Like, I think you guys are always in growth mode. The way I've seen you guys adopt technology and do things. What do you kind of feel is going on?
I mean, we're specific to us, we're always looking for a better way to do it, right? To do what we do, and the constant improvement, whether you can call that growth mode or not, but we're always looking to implement a better process or rethink the way we do things today to get ahead of what we need to do tomorrow. A lot of what we do here is pretty repetitive. So like those are things that we need to get automated. We need to make sure that they're taken care of. We need to make sure that they're taken care of very well. So how do we create space for new stuff that comes in? So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the kind of way I've always looked at it, is like, let's refine what we do, and we know that is going to be there as long as we take care of it and do that to the best of our ability, so we can create the space to go and get growth moving. And when the market turns, we're ready for it. We're not going to be managing not only what we do on a daily basis, but then that takes up all the time that we can do to get new business in, or concentrate on different avenues that we want to go down.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, like I said, I think you guys are always kind of focused on that. And I've always liked that about Concept. It's like, you're never boo-hoo, oh, the market sucks. It's like, let's just keep moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So we'll shift gears a little bit into strategy, reaction to the market. What are the things that we're doing? What are the specific things that we're doing to address these things? I'll start this one with you, Mitch. On the TMS side, like, again, you guys see a lot of the strategies taking place, right? And you see them implemented with your customers. What are the moves that you're seeing brokers make in the current market conditions that seem to be working well, and that are the smart decisions?
And Greg said it, touched on it already, but what we see as being the most beneficial, and Brendan's actively doing this all the time. I think they're a great example of a business that's looking to find ways to do what they do better, right? It's not always a technical solution. A lot of times, part of it is a technical solution, but a part of it is a human solution as well, and balancing those two. So what we see the best and the strongest brokers doing is finding a way to take a process or a thing that is difficult for them in their organization and work to make it better. And sometimes that thing is retraining people, and sometimes that thing is changing the steps they take to get something done and letting automation handle a couple of those steps. So that balance between it, because we're not, especially for a freight broker, we don't want to remove the broker from the conversations. And that's a common challenge that we see when we talk to brokers about automation. Is it's not about removing the broker, it's about empowering the broker. I want Greg to have conversations with his customers about how to best move their freight, and how to advise them on the challenges that they can have, or the way they can optimize, or the way they can deliver their products faster and more effectively. But I don't need him spending all of his time necessarily calling a carrier and asking for the latest update from them, right? Like, let's find these places where we can remove some of the mundane tasks, the tasks that nobody really wants. The driver doesn't want that phone call either, right? And that's just obviously a real simple example of it, but there's a million other examples that fall into that category of, let's remove some of these tasks that don't add value to our business, and let's make sure that the brokers, our teams, are doing the work that adds value to our business every day, that builds the relationship with our customers, that builds the relationship with our carriers, so that we're running a better business. And so that's what we see, the brokers that are really tackling the best. And you two guys are perfect examples of this, where you're balancing the human side and the technical side. So, I got to compliment you a little bit, because I don't want Greg to feel sad about the Super Bowl loss.
Here we go.
I was thinking too, you said not a third. I'm
like
actually
a
missing
49er
one
fan
ring.
or something. It's not even relevant to the conversation.
Yeah, we've actually beat you guys.
To pump you up a little bit, Greg.
We've actually beat you guys
way
twice. Yeah, Mitch is weighing in after they've lost.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It might be the theme of this whole call.
Yeah,
we'll
right.
see.
Exactly.
It is
And
almost
football
football
season's
season.
kicking off tonight. It's a Hall of Fame game. You guys didn't notice. So kind of shifting gears on that, it was same kind of idea, but with Greg and Brendan, and something you said actually real quick, Mitch, I wanted to touch on. Not only do human beings not want to do these things, they're not very good at them. Like remembering to do 100 different tasks at the same time on loads that are very manual processes. We're not great at that, and computers are good at it.
We'll start. I'll admit, Kevin, that when I used to book freight, I used the same, like, I thought I was doing something to ease my day up by using the same carriers over and over and over again, right? Just because I didn't want to track them and I trusted them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's why I
Yeah.
did that. That was why I did. Then I started realizing how great that was for the business. But like it was born out of me not wanting to do something for
Exactly.
being brilliant, right?
It just turned out to be a good thing. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
and recognizing that now, it goes a lot along with what you're saying, though. I think it's building these different processes or bringing in tech that helps you with those mundane tasks that help you build a better relationship. Now you're not calling the same carrier 5 times to say, do you got a load? Do you got a load? Where's your truck? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. You're actually calling them and having a conversation like human beings. And maybe you sprinkle in, how's your kids doing? Hey, I heard, you went to Disney last month. How was that? Like you're actually having a relationship building conversation. And that's the difference between, the 1,000 phone calls that we're talking about and an actual good phone call.
And you have time to do that because you don't have to do all the manual stuff now. Right. Exactly. So kind of go inverse of that with, beyond like the moves that are being made that are good. What Brendan and Greg, and we'll maybe start with Brendan, go back to Greg. What are the traps? Like, what are the things that you guys are seeing that people are like failing to adapt to these situations? What are the mistakes that they're making that you guys have seen that you're like, okay, we're trying not to, step into these traps?
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a trap, but the change management piece is really important because it might change the entire process to adopt these new technologies and different ways of thinking and actually working on the freight. And so being able to communicate that to the team can be difficult, but is also so crucial. And being able to highlight and show the benefit of it is so needed in this process, because that's what really gets the buy-in from the team and helps it really sort of take off from there.
That's a good call. That can be a trap if you don't do change management or you adopt new tech, for sure. Greg, same thing. Well, what are some of the mistakes you guys are trying to avoid?
I mean, and we see it a lot, especially in this kind of market when you're out there looking for freight, whether that be bringing in a salesperson or just the freight that you're being offered and what you want to bring in and get through the door, because we need loads, right? That's our blood. We have to have it. It's our oxygen. I think falling into the trap of like volume and negative margins and just, we'll get it eventually, right? I think that's a trap that a broker like myself and, mid-sized brokers and smaller brokers, you're not going to win that game. Like, very rarely are you going to win that game.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like rare are you going to win that game, right? Like it's the stars align, the moon's shining, everything's working, and you made it out. And you might make it out, maybe that's winning it. But oftentimes, and I've seen it, a lot, I think that's the biggest trap people fall into. It's like, we'll just get the loads on the board and we'll fix the margins later. And it's through the years, you just like, what comes with volume is usually, tough customers, tougher carriers, maybe weighing on your values a little bit to get them on the board, right? Like that's just stuff that we're not
compromising specific
who you are.
compliance of values.
Again, you know what I mean? Like I'm just that's it. Like I'm not. That's a trap, and it's a downward spiral. And I completely disagree with that kind of philosophy. Now, if I was a gigantic broker, maybe. I could
you have money to waste. Right.
But it complements your statement from earlier too, right? In that it's about building that good relationship, and your shipper should understand that you're, as a broker, going to make money on the shipment. And if they're not willing to see that part of the process, then you haven't shown them your value. And the same on the other side, the carrier should know that you're making money on the shipment, and they should see your value as well. And just like we see their value on both sides, and balancing that value is an important part of the relationship. So I think that trap you're talking about is really important, and somebody's not respecting the relationship. right? When you're taking those negative margins, and if they don't respect it at the beginning, they're not going to respect it later either. That mentality is not going to shift. It's going to stay.
Yeah, the shifting mentality is a huge part of it. You got to prep people for that. And that's actually, Brendan, you mentioned this, right? And this is maybe the last piece on like strategy stuff, and we'll kind of shift gears to the tech side. But like, what are your priorities right now? And like around this market and the situation we've been, like, what are the priorities and how have those changed with that situation?
Yeah, for us, really our biggest priority is always going to be efficiency, right? We want to be able to move a lot of freight with few amounts of people, right? My role here, I'm the, recruiter. I want to bring people in, but I want to bring in the right number of people so that we can really, expand and understand our own business and our own customers, just like that you were saying, Greg, that relationship piece. The fewer amount of cooks in the kitchen allows us to really focus on that and focus on those relationships. But just making sure that your team, one, accepts the new technology and the trap, I guess, of falling back into old habits, and making sure that they see the benefit is so crucial.
I'll add one trap in there, and it's the set and forget trap, right? With automation and things like that. That is something that I think that you were just talking about, Brendan, and it's something that brokers really got to watch, because when you do set up all these automations and people get used to it being really easy to do that thing, and you're not managing it anymore, and it's just going, that's when you're going to lose your edge. That's when you're going to lose some of that foresight that you had to actually get those automation processes in. And when you're not adjusting them and keep working on them and keep managing them, they're going to end up costing you if that's the case.
Well, and that's actually this priorities thing that I just asked. Like for you guys, Greg, I've seen that, when I worked with you at Green Screens. I know seeing this with Chain with you guys, like, would you say that's a priority for you guys? Like automate, but obviously make sure that you're adopting the right things.
Automate, but escalate to a human.
Exactly.
I think for us too, it's a lot of it comes down to what our core business is. And like I said, it's a very repetitive business. So how do we better establish a carrier network that's, I know that with all the news that's going on with the things, like everybody's talking about private capacity, but it used to be called a network of carriers, but my network of carriers, right? And making sure that they're in a good place, and then taking that good network of carriers and then expanding their business. Hey, you do Buffalo to Kansas City. Buffalo wins every time, but but then, hey, would you mind going to, would you mind going 2 miles left of Kansas City? It's a lane, it's the same lane. And maybe you won't be the top on my Buffalo to Kansas City. Maybe you're number 3 on that, but you'll be number 1 on this. So just really kind of, that's what we've been prioritizing, like better use
and how do you identify that, right?
Correct. Yeah. And and making sure that our rates are not, outrageous, and making sure that we're not cheapskating anyone, and finding that balance. But that's been our real concentration point as of the last couple of months, is getting what I call a 10 carrier initiative per lane.
Nice. I like that too. Like 10 carriers per lane. Okay, we'll shift gears a little bit. We'll go over to the tech side. Talk a little bit more specifically about a lot of what we're already discussing around being more efficient. I keep talking about, Brendan, you already mentioned this, but I keep talking about revenue per head more recently. Like, how do we get that revenue per head number up? So the tech side, I guess, Mitch, you and I can kind of start from the tech provider perspective. Specifically with Ty, what are you guys kind of focused on from a roadmap? What are you seeing as the key priorities for tech going forward?
So for us, it's focused around the broker in the chair, right? The broker who's moving freight every day, and making sure that we're providing tools that help streamline that job. And that job could also be on the accounting side too, right? We're not trying to say it's just about the operations piece. The freight life cycle, all of it has to be streamlined. But then also, it's not just about how do you make it good for them to do that job easier, but also giving them visibility to the other tools that they need in context to the decisions that they're making, right? And you've mentioned like green screens, which does a great job on the pricing side, and being able to bring that information in to the decision-making process while the broker is entering an order and working that load, bringing in other tools like Highway where it's needed, bringing in Chain, it's to help automate steps along the way, like bringing these tools into context around the broker or the accounting ops person so that all of these steps are being managed effectively. That's the key that Ty's focused on in our longer term roadmap. Now, how we execute that changes. Like I mentioned, partners, but of course, I'm a technology guy, so we have to mention agentic AI because it's like mandatory for every conversation. But how do you use AI to do it? And there are some places where using AI solutions is great, like emailing, right? That's something we do with our AI tool that AI is really well suited for that. But there's other things where AI is not well suited for the automation or not well suited to provide optimizations. And that's fine too. Like let's use different tools for different situations. We don't have to shove one tool in to make it the only system that we have. Technology's been around for a long time and a lot of really great things have been developed. And so that's what we're trying to do is bring partner tools in together. We're trying to bring in our own system tools. We're trying to bring workflow automation tools in, customization tools so the brokers can modify the workflows the way they need them to, so that you have a whole suite of tools that are able to help bring all this information together in context. And I think, Bedrock's a great example of it, of even though Brendan's in charge of people, he's also in charge of our APIs, right? So I think he runs more APIs than any of our other customers, which is about connecting us to other systems. It's about sharing information through their CRM and through their BI tools and through all these other components that help solidify a strong business. And that's what Ty's doing, is trying to be that underlying platform to support all of those decisions that are happening in context to when they need to happen.
All those things. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
You and I
unpack that. He's like unpacking all that.
Same for Chain. Let's move on. No, I think Mitch, you and I actually talk about the interactive partnership stuff a lot too. Like we've, in the integrations, working together, make sure the data and the processes are synced. And that's a huge piece with what is same for us at Chain, is like when we're developing our tool, which you mentioned agentic AI. I mean, that's primarily what we do. We actually have some pretty crazy stuff coming out soon where our AI is not even going to need to be told what to do in a lot of situations. Like a lot of times it's rule-based stuff today. But how do we effectively do that? It's not just like turning the AI loose. It's not like turning the automation loose. And Greg, you mentioned this, right? It's like you can get caught in that hole of like, let's just automate everything. It's like, well, there's certain things that should be automated. Low-hanging fruit, manual tasks, communication with a driver, a dispatcher, just pushing data back to the TMS. These are all things that are pretty easily automated, right? By specific tools. And specifically when you have like an AI or a language model to handle that stuff, it can do it pretty well. But then, understanding like where we do have to bring the human into the loop too. Like that's a huge piece for us as well. Like flagging exceptions, flagging assistance requests, things like that, where we do have to bring the human in, but they don't have to sit there and monitor this stuff all day, right? Like those are heavy focuses for us. And then for us, like, we're very focused on the visibility and operations piece, because that's where a lot of that low-hanging fruit is. And that's kind of what we're doing with Bedrock. That's what we're doing with Concept today. But like both Bedrock and Concept have adapted our booking tool. We're kind of working our way. I've been joking about this. Like we're working our way backwards through the process. We started with the tail end, through to delivery and documents. Now we're kind of going backwards to booking. And then again, not taking the human out of that equation of making those carrier decisions. But like Greg said, how do we service up the right carriers at the right time? And also get rid of the bad carriers so they don't even see them. Like if there's just something to be declined. And that's kind of where we've been focused. And I think that's kind of the direction that a lot of people are looking to head. Greg, we'll start with you. What role kind of have you guys looked at with automation and kind of staying lean and effective? Where are the areas that you guys have applied it?
I mean, it's been through document processing, it's been through tracking, it's been through booking. I mean, there isn't a place that we haven't touched it, right? I think for us, it's about giving hours back to our people. Like Mitch, you had said, like it's about empowering, it's about supercharging it for me, right? Like I'll take 5 of my best reps and give them a bunch of automation, train them on how to use it, and see what they can really do, right? Like let's realize the potential that's out there and why I hired you in the first place, right? Like this is what I want you to, this is what I think you're capable of, and here's your toolkit to do it. Tell me how we can use it better. Let's all get at the table, because
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it too. A lot. I've always taken the view of technology as there's got to be a larger need for the group rather than the individual, and it has to solve that need, right? Or it has a pathway to solving that need. And I really feel it's funny because I've been through the ringer on technology. I've bought it all, to be honest with you. But what I've come to enjoy the most, and really where we're kind of seeing the automation piece really work for us, is when we enter in with, like, Mitch, we've been with you guys for quite a while now, Chain for quite a while, green screens, all it. But we're more partners in this journey than it is you telling me what you can and cannot do. And I think that's been the biggest piece, is like we're listening to our people, you're listening to your customers, and we're kind of coming together to figure out how this all moves down the road. And I think that's where we get those hours back for those reps that could do more if they just had the chance, right? And that's the job as a leader in a company, or somebody in recruiting or whatever. It's like, how do I enable my people to do better and live better lives and be better people and achieve more?
Yeah.
That's really well said.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mitch. Go for it.
No, that's really well said, Greg, and that's what we were talking about a little earlier too, is, as a brokerage, what you guys do, but partnering with on the technology side gives you that opportunity to kind of brainstorm and innovate solutions that work for your business, right? Because brokers are all a little different, right? I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. And figuring out, like, well, this is what I do, this is why I do it that way, and having that open-mindedness and that kind of mindset to review that and say, like, okay, well, let me rely on Chain to give me some suggestions on what they can do and what they can't do. And if we can all have those kind of honest conversations about it and dig into it, it gives us opportunity to innovate some really cool solutions that help change the business a little bit, take advantage of the technology a little better, and build a really nice winning solution.
Yeah, the willingness to change is huge. I think you can't go in half-assed. It's like, we're gonna dip our toe. You got to go whole ass. Yeah, you got to be ready to make that change if you're gonna make that decision. Otherwise, it's like it's not gonna have that impact that you want it to have. And I think that, Greg, you said something interesting too around like, how do I make my people's lives better? And that kind of goes back to, if your people have more time in the day and their lives are better and they're more efficient, but they're moving more loads, the business wins. That's how you get more revenue per head. That's like how you get higher margins, right? Because they can go out and move more loads with less work. That's good for everybody. I'll throw this to you, Brennan, kind of the same, we'll pull on that same thread. What is like an example of like specific workflows or processes, stuff that you guys have automated that's given you like a measurable impact?
For us, really the Chain automation, the autopilots, has been revolutionary in the tracking and tracing side of things, right? Making sure that the drivers are there on time, taking that manual step away from our people so that they can have more time in the day, has been one of the best things that has happened in a long time. And I just want to say real quick, because Mitch was talking about the communication piece being so important. That's one thing that we love about working with both Ty and Chain, is not only do you guys listen to our feedback, but we work together to kind of come to solutions. And I'm sure your people often get a little bombarded or annoyed because I email both of your teams quite often. So I just want to thank you guys for working with us.
Never, not at all. I mean, that kind of feedback though is great, right? Like we fall into the same trap as tech vendors that like Greg mentioned, where it's like, oh, everything's going well, nobody's emailing us, it must be great, right? And then you don't find out about things. So it's like that feedback loop for us and that communication is obviously very important. Also, for you, Brendan, I appreciate that. I'll Venmo you that $100.
Yeah.
I don't even have to sell it. I just let Brendan sell it.
Yeah. I love how this is working out. Like, so you're complimenting Brendan and beating up poor Greg. I mean,
I'm used to it. Don't worry.
I complimented concept.
Yeah, no,
not Greg's impact. We'll go to Greg on this. I won't beat you up. I think though, specifically, I'll throw Greg a compliment. I think you guys do a really good job of like when you do this change management and you do adopt these things going in whole ass, right? Like doing this stuff. What are some things like advice that you would give to other brokers, to other people about when you're making these changes and you want to see that value and you're going into this automation or doing these things to be more efficient? What would be the advice that you would give in terms of making those changes and not feeling overwhelmed by it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think it's mapping out an SOP that your team will use. I can map out an SOP any day and it probably will get thrown in the garbage when I walk away, right? But it's something that they'll use, something they're involved in, something they have a voice in. And then it's taking, maybe it's one rep, maybe it's two, maybe, look for the eyes that light up and like, oh, dang, this could change things. Like look for that person instead of picking one. I've noticed that you get much more buy-in when they're the ones drawn to the product rather than your big idea. And then, you get a scoreboard, like literally a scoreboard, like put it up in the office and monitor it. Right. And it's going to generate questions, whether they're either the SOP or the thing that you're trying to change management is making progress, or you might get somebody that just walks by and is like, that hasn't worked. Right. But that's a conversation starter. And I think, when you address a group, one of the biggest hesitations you end up having is when you ask them a question, right? It's like, everybody have their lunch today? And everybody's like,
stone
right?
faced.
And you're like, but we can talk for 4 hours about baseball. And I'm asking you a simple question. I just need an answer. So it's like, this is what you do for a living. So how do you get them involved in that process? Celebrate the wins when they do happen, address the concerns when you notice that they're happening, and then just keep that rolling. Pilot 20% of your freight that's specific to what you're trying to do, whether it be tracking or automation and billing or whatever. But track a very specific segment and then really start to dive into what's working, what's not, and have your people be a part of the process of how that is going to change, grow, or actually be implemented.
Yeah, I think involving stakeholders, I bring this up all the time when we talk about chain or, when I was at Green Screens or even at Revenova before. It's like, don't just go make this decision independently and then tell your people they're doing it. Get them involved, make sure that they know that the change is happening, get your right stakeholders involved in the demo process at the beginning so that they know you're thinking about making these decisions instead of just dumping it on them, right?
Yeah, I think that's really important piece of it, of getting that buy-in. And also, by the way, Greg, that was very nicely said. I think you can run that on the leadership training circuit, right? I mean, that's really good. I'm not even picking on you with that.
I appreciate it. Finally, someone realizes something.
Yeah. We see there's a bright light inside there. We know it's there. But it's a great leadership skill and something that I think a lot of us can learn from and should employ, and even remind ourselves that we should employ those kind of strategies and get that buy-in all the time, and follow up with our team along are they able to use this? Is this bringing value? How can we change it to make it more valuable? and closing that feedback loop and listening to our customers and listening to our team, super important thing. So nicely said, Greg.
Yeah, for sure. So last piece here on like the tech front, we've actually only said it a few times, which I'm like amazed. Like we have avoided the topic of AI, right? Because that's everybody's buzzword today. A lot of noise, a lot of people saying they're doing AI that aren't, a lot of people that are saying they're doing things and they're building it, but it's not there yet. You know, it's just a bunch of people in an office behind the scenes moving data around. We'll start, I think Brennan and Greg, I want you guys both to weigh in on this, but like Brennan, what are the, like along that same line with advising other people and making this decision and getting into automation, if they're getting into AI and they're getting into these things, what are some specific like use cases that you guys are using around operations, sales, whatever, and how do you see those being effective when using AI?
I kind of touched on it a little bit, right? The check call aspect of it has been probably our most adopted and most used since, you know, recently moving over to the Chains platform or newer platform. And it's been really helpful, especially because, right, we work all over the country. There's different time zones. There's 800 loads you got to check on that day. Being able to really stay on top of every load. And that way we only really have to get more hands-on with the, you know, extreme cases or the exceptions. But a mixture of the check calling and different automations just to let everyone know where, you know, the drivers currently are, right? Did they check in to the facility yet? Have they left the facility yet? Right? Making that more visible across the board has been sort of our biggest success and our, you know, most used version of AI.
Yeah. And that's what we mentioned before, right? The low-hanging fruit. I think like it's like a lot of that manual process that finding those areas of your business that are inefficient and then addressing those. Greg, same thing. Like you guys have been involved in a lot of this stuff for the last few years. What are some of those use cases?
I mean, right. Specifically now, I feel like it's getting better. We're getting better. We're using it to be a little bit more predictive on the things that we were talking about earlier. Who's the best carrier for this? Where's the data that shows that? You know, it's an interesting piece, but like I think one of the things that we're trying to really implement in our side is, you know, looking at AI as a teammate rather than a tool, right? It's your kind of confidant. It's the thing that can help you solve the problem rather than be the thing that solves the problem, right? And I think,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like we gotta think about it like Google, right? Like you go ahead and just Google if you're going to Google, right? Or actually try to figure out how you can get this done. And I think, you know, I don't think it's not replacing a rep, but it's helping them find the best carrier at the cheapest price a minute and a half before they would have. Right. So again, you're bringing them up to speed faster and they're making better decisions. Probably, you know, are you going to disagree with it? 100%. You know, my AI called me a half-asser. I said, you're nuts. Right. But those things are there. And it's a conversation piece. It's a teammate piece. It's a how do I do better? What am I missing type of a piece than it is, you know, for me just to be like, oh, well, AI said it. It's got to be right. Like, there we go.
Yeah. We used to it's funny you say that too, because like you think about AI, instead of like replacing people, right? It's a tool for people to be better, right? And we used to use this at green screens a lot in comparison to some other tools out there that I would say were not as good as green screens at doing what we did with pricing. But it's like we would hand people a backhoe. Hey, here's the backhoe. Here's the keys, and they'd go pick up the shovel. It's like, okay, guys, let's back up. Like, it's a tool to dig the hole faster, and it's much better at it. Stop picking up the shovel, right? And it's like, it's not about replacing you. It's about making you better and making your processes faster, right? So, yeah.
And you're putting it in the right context that you have a more powerful tool, but that doesn't mean the tool is flawless. The tool's not supposed to be flawless. That's why we have people still in the loop, you know, but you're saying it really well. Like we want to use it to help us solve problems, not replace our entire process, you know, and because we can get there so much faster and so much more effectively. And even when we think about like pricing or carriers that we use in a lane, if we let some of the tools we have help us, then it may bring up 2 or 3 carriers that we forgot, because as people, we're good at forgetting stuff. But the systems and the AI tools are good at remembering those things and good at finding context around them. So use the tool to help you do your job. That's one of the messages that I really like to convey, is that AI and technology, they're not here to replace us. They're here to make us better. But if we ignore them, they will replace us. The people who are using them will replace us. You know, so make sure you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I bring this up with AI now. There's a Newsweek article from like 1995, and they just did like a 30-year deal on this, and it was like a headline article, and this guy wrote, "The internet's a fad." Like basically was his article, "The internet's a fad, it's gonna die." And I just saw a piece on it because it's like 30 years since he wrote it, and they interviewed him, and he's like, "That was the stupidest thing I've ever done." Like,
did you find it on
the
the
stupidest
internet,
thing
obviously?
anyone has ever done ever is what this guy said. Like, and they ran it on the front page. He's like, my career at that point was like over. Like, I had to revive my career. These people thought I was so stupid, but it's like, I mean, it's mentality.
And there are some technologies that are a little bit that are fads, but clearly in that case, like, I mean, the internet, it's here to stay. And AI is also one. Like, you know, I've been in technology for a good amount of time, and the AI tools that we're using, AI is not new either, right? I mean, like Green Screen's been working with AI technologies for like, what, 8 years? I don't know how many years.
Yeah, I mean, it existed. The technology itself existed before green screens existed. They were actually working on it for 3 or 4 years.
It's been more than a decade.
Yeah,
you know, the Google DeepMind team has been around for, I think, 20 years.
20 years,
they're the source of AI, really. So AI is not new. It is absolutely here to stay. There's no putting it back in the box. It's not going away. And just like cloud computing, right? It was only 5-6 years ago that some of our Ty's competitors were still promoting on-premise products and on-premise for your software products being a good idea. Like, we all know better now. You know, cloud is not going anywhere. The cloud is here to stay, just like the internet and just like AI. So figuring out what technologies are here to stay and what aren't is where you should lean on some of your partners for. And I will tell you that AI is never going away.
No, it is not. It is here to stay now, especially with all the billions and trillions of dollars of investment in it by all these large companies. I don't think we have a choice. So kind of along that same line, I'll start with you here, Mitch. What are you guys seeing like with Ty? Like, what in terms of like getting teams to adapt these tools, like we're talking about with AI or other things, avoiding the disruption? How do you guys as a TMS provider ensure the success of that?
I would say that the hardest part is the conversation we've been having is that the AI is not supposed to be perfect. The AI tools are supposed to be a very helpful tool, but they're not supposed to be perfect. And so making sure that we set those expectations and that we all are going in with that same idea that if it can do 80% of the work for you, that's a heck of a lot better than doing 0% of the work. The challenge comes in is when you expect it to be 100% right 100% of the time. It's an unreachable goal, and it's kind of a self-sabotaging goal. If you think for any technology tool you put in place, regardless of whether it's AI, agentic AI, or whatever other mechanism, if you're expecting to be 100% right 100% of the time, it's really just an opportunity for you to say, I don't want to implement this, rather than trying to evolve and build a process around it. So, and with AI, the percentages have to be a little different. We should expect something like 80% is realistic. You know, hopefully good tools get up in the 90s, but it'll never be 100. And don't try to make it 100.
And run away if somebody tells you that if somebody tells you that their AI tool is 100% perfect all the time, does everything, run away. Do not.
They're lying.
Yeah, that
is a flat out lie. That's
absolutely.
Way to the Super Bowl
For sure.
It's not happening.
It's just, they win. Hey, they win when it's not the big games. When it's not the ones that matter.
Listen,
Well, Greg, we'll go to you. How do
I'm
you
really glad we
make
could pull that back in together. You know?
How do you avoid disruption in rolling out technology? And take your shot with the Bills before that, if you
Oh
want.
no, I don't need technology to kick the Chiefs' ass. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, you guys need the refs. That's fine. That's your tech. We're just gonna bowl through it. It's fine. In the end, the change, man. Everything we've talked about today really kind of sums up where you've got to go, right? And I think it's being a part of it. It's making sure that you've got your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and it's constantly being in the business. It's not about this is going to be easier now. This is here. I'm going to throw my hands behind my head and my feet up on the desk and just watch the freight roll, right? That's not it. It's constant. It's going to be listening to what we have coming up in the freight market, making sure that you've left enough room for you to be adaptable to what that's going to be, because I think that might be the advantage of AI, right? Is that you're going to be more fluid through your decisions instead of having to be so staunch. And if you've made a decision, this is it, we're just going to see it through, and there goes the ship, right? Like, you're going to be able to pivot better if you're able to use the AI better. You're going to be able to make better decisions, and maybe you won't have to pivot as hard because AI did help you make better decisions up front. So that's where I kind of see the AI and how we'll make it stick, is that we're going to use it to help us be fluid in these markets and really understand what data we have here. I think, that's been a challenge, and Mitch and Kevin and Brennan, I don't know, but brokers oftentimes don't understand what they have. They have fucking gold mine in here, and they don't realize they do, and they don't know how to use that gold mine. And it's like, well, I booked 4 loads today. I got, this percent of margin, and this was my sell total, and that's what they're going off of, right? Did I do 5? That was fine at one point, right?
But you got to see the forest for the trees sometimes.
Right, you're no longer faxing your loads over to a carrier, right? Like, things are moving fast, and you need to be able to have that data and understand it and move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Anything to add there, Brendan, real quick? We got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, just kind of going off what Mitch said about it not doing potentially 100% of what you wanted it to do, but also it doing it differently than we're used to is a big hurdle that we, sometimes have to overcome, right? We need to adapt to that change or sort of accept a new way of thinking in order to fully, realize its potential.
Yeah. All right, lightning round, guys. You ready? We'll just go down the line. I've got Mitch, Greg, Brendan, and then me on my screen. One tech trend or shift. Like, what is the one thing that you're seeing for the 25, 26 as we get in the end of the year? Mitch, what do you see as being the thing that to keep an eye on?
Make sure you have partners that can help you with your AI strategy for your business. Find little ways to use it. Expect ROI.
I like that. Greg?
I would say building better RFP answers. And what I mean that is like using your private network to actually build an RFP you're comfortable with submitting rather than just, throwing it at the wall and see what sticks.
That's a good one. Use your data too. You already mentioned that, right? Use your data to make that happen. Brendan?
Visibility on trucks, right? Making sure we know where our freight is, and any tool that can help assist with that is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
trauma on Brennan's end.
No, I felt that a little bit.
We might have to work through another call.
Yeah. I think Brennan's actually spot on. I think with the fraud that we've seen and that sort of stuff, it's not just about compliance with carriers and making sure that you're avoiding fraud. It's about fraud through the process, right? Yeah. And visibility through the process to make sure that you're checking every step of the way to make sure that there's not issues presenting themselves there. And then I guess the last one here, because we're short on time, market stays flat. Okay. Rates aren't improving. Capacity is not tightening. We don't see, what are the things that you guys think will separate the wheat from the chaff? Mitch?
I think a good business is important to no matter what the conditions are. So make sure that you're thinking about your business and building a strong foundation, and you'll be good through any market.
Cool. Greg, real fast.
Be adaptable and celebrate the wins.
Brendan?
Yeah, Mitch stole it. The foundation is crucial.
Yeah, tech foundation too. I'll kind of add that, right? Like the
Yeah.
tech foundation, the vendors that you're working with, the integrations that you have, I think is going to separate who's good and who's bad in the next couple of years. Cool. Well, I appreciate all of you for joining us and taking the time to listen to us knuckleheads talk about things we just, plan or pretend to know what we're doing. Mitch, Greg, Brendan, awesome. You guys are rock stars. I think we covered a lot of good ground. There is a pop-up there. If you guys, we're actually offering, Chain is a free 1-month trial. If you guys sign up, if you're a Thai customer, you can click that. You'll get me. You click that link and I'll respond to you and we can get you guys set up and get you hooked on the sauce of Chain and the automation, the stuff that Brendan and Greg are hooked on right now. So cool.
Well, thank
right.
you, gentlemen. Appreciate
you,
everybody
guys.
attending. Thank you to all the people who are watching today too.
Yeah.
Appreciate everyone's time.
Yep.
Wonderful. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Go Bells.
All right.